That next. We're talking with Greg Ryan. We'll be right back on 84 WHAS.
Did that answer your question?
No, you did. But you're like my therapist right now because I'm asking you all the questions that I want to know for me.
Oh, well,
but
hey,
I mean, seriously, it's like, how do you? And I want to talk about this on the air. It's, I am such a fly by the seat of my pants person and always have been. This show, prime example. I do such little pre-planning for this show that it has driven every boss crazy because they want you to have like a certain map out. They want to, they want you to have some kind of framework.
But that works for you.
Works great for me. In this area of my life, it works great for me. But obviously, in the health and fitness area of my life, it does not work, It doesn't work for me. So how do I have that in one area of my life and not have more discipline in another part of my life?
Well, it's personal.
Yeah.
This is personal. And willpower, you got these things that we're going to talk about in the Truth or Consequence book, is the barriers. So willpower comes from feeling like you deserve it. It comes from fear that just because you can't see it. That's why diabetes is so bad, because you can't see it. So fear is a big willpower. I didn't have willpower. I was raised on a farm. I had discipline, but I didn't have self-discipline. And I talk about that in my personal story. And I didn't want to go back, though. I got to the point where I didn't want to go back to the old Greg. So that created a willpower. And then I created a game within myself of I can do this, because nobody can do this for me. So it built on itself. But I had to go all the way back to the beginning and say, do I deserve this? And that's where, with women especially, the psychology is they don't feel they deserve it. Down deep inside, they're going, and then the fear of success. What if I lose 15 pounds? Do I really believe I can keep that off?
Right. That's a big thing for me because I've been, my weight has always, I say that, what's funny is my weight has not always been an issue. But for me, it mentally was. Because even though I was 5'10", I still weighed 150 pounds. I mean, that was my weight for a very long time. I haven't seen that weight in a long time now at this point. But for me, I was never satisfied with that. But that was a perfectly healthy weight. Now on this side of it, I'm like, damn, I would really like to weigh that again. I don't think I ever will, but, I look at it now and I think to myself, I'm sorry, Buick? Oh, okay, at what time? Okay.
So what's your definition of willpower? Yours.
I'm sorry, say that again, Brian. Oh, I am going to toss to Bloomberg at 2740. Okay. The follow through for me. I think it follow through because I get started. I have great intentions. Then I get tired and I'm running around like a crazy person, and that's the first thing that goes. It's like I think the willpower for me is the ability to make something a priority and keep it there, because it tends to get shoved down the priority list really.
So it's not really the willpower; it's the carrot in front of the willpower.
Yeah, I guess. You
got the willpower, so to speak, but if your carrot in front of you was fearful enough?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real honest. Fear and pleasure. Most people are motivated by fear. Okay? So it's not going to happen to me. We get 40 years old and we get this delusional thing that when we were in 20s and 30s that we can do this for the rest of our lives and get away with it. Turn 40, all of a sudden the switch goes on. We're going,
And I have a 19-month-old daughter. That for me has been a huge motivator.
Willpower. So you got to find those, what will connect that willpower. In some cases, it's children. I won't do it for me, but I'll do it for my kid.
And isn't that crazy?
Whatever works.
One of my girlfriends, we were talking about smoking because I smoked off and on for 15 years, and then I finally, my husband now is an anti-smoker, so that made it really easy for me to finally quit and be done and not smoke anymore. And she was saying, I smoked for years. My husband got cancer, and I'm like, sorry about your cancer. Sorry about your cancer. She goes, but as soon as I found out I was pregnant,
boom.
I was like, I'm done. And she said, I haven't smoked since, and her daughter's 23 now.
And that's why I wrote the book, Why Wait?
Yeah.
Because if we wait, we won't do it.
Right. Okay, here we go.
Okay?
84 WHAS. We're talking to Greg Ryan, who is, Greg, you have a varied background here. I mean, you've been a bodybuilder, you're a personal trainer, but you're also a physical therapist, are you not? You're also...
Which physical therapy school?
Sorry, why don't I turn your microphone?
Oh,
Go ahead.
Hell, can you hear me now? I went back to school, and I just couldn't do the hospital thing.
Yeah.
But I have physical therapists that, I do some work with, but no.
But for you, it's a lot about the mind-body connection, and that's what I think a lot of people struggle with. I know I do. And during the break, we were talking about the concept of willpower, because that to me is what you hear, and you think to yourself, I just have to have the willpower to push myself away from the table. It seems so easy. I just need to push myself away from the table, and I need to have the willpower to stick with this. For me, willpower is great when I first get started, but I'm tired one day, I'm running around, I'm busy, and then all of a sudden all my great plans and ideas get shoved down and I order a pizza, and all bets are off. How do you get past that? How do you motivate yourself? How do you keep that willpower to eat the right way and do the right things going?
Well, we all have the willpower, so we got to find it inside of us. And I'm a props guy, and I brought some props in. But one prop I have is I have a lab coat in my office. I'm not a doctor. I play one on TV, but I'm not a doctor. But it's funny when the trainer dude outfit is on, people will listen to me a little bit. But when I put the doctor's thing on and say the same thing, their eyes light up. And so we got to figure out what brings that willpower out. So if I'm the doctor dude, and I say to you, you got 6 months. If you don't do something, you're going to get diabetes. What are you going to do? That willpower's there. Okay, you've got it mapped out. There's a fear motivation there. There's a consequence. And I wrote that in my book, Truth or Consequences. There's got to be, unfortunately, a fear of something being taken away from you for you to instantly find that willpower. We have it. But we think that it's not going to happen to me. When I was taking steroids, and I'm very open with that, I had a 26-year-old cousin to die of cancer and steroids. And I sat by his deathbed and I said, well, it's not going to happen to me. And I was doing the same thing that he was doing. But it wasn't going to happen to me.
But it just wasn't in the luck of the draw.
It wasn't the luck of the draw. So that willpower's there. It's unfortunately something in life has to bring that out. And I guarantee you'll do it.
So let's get back to our conversation about resolutions. How do you set yourself up? You're goal setting, you're prepping for these resolutions. How do you move forward and make this the year that you make these resolutions for the last time? These particular resolutions for the last time?
Well, we talked about this in the break, and one reason I wrote the book is that we wait, and if we wait for anything, we're not going to do it. So you really got to flip a switch, and you really got to say, well, this will happen to me if I don't do this. This will be the consequences. And I have to live with that. Like with me, with my motivation, people think, well, you're self-motivated. I'm like, no, I said, I don't want to go back to the old Greg. I was an overweight kid, no self-esteem. Doing a radio interview? Forget it. But I don't want to go back to that old guy. And so that's my motivation. And so, you have to realize that it could be different a year from now, or 6 months from now in your life.
Do you believe in the positive, like sort of, they always say, close your eyes, or the big one for me, for my roommates was put a picture of you the way you used to look, the way you want to look, whatever, on the refrigerator. That just reminded me of how far I'd fallen.
I never really believed in that stuff, but I won the Mr. Michigan in bodybuilding championships in 1988, and for 4 months I wrote up on a piece of paper, I am Mr. Michigan. And I wasn't going to compete. I had retired at a young age, and I kept writing that down 150, 200 times a day. And I ended up winning that contest. And I firmly believe that the power of journaling, and I also write that in the book about the power of the pen, how that transformed my body physically. It went emotionally, but it went physically too. And I never really believed the power of that until that personal story happened, that it physically changed my body. But we don't want to write things down because that commits us. Journaling is the hardest thing for us to do because it's an accountability, and we have to have that accountability. That's the other ugly side to this.
Well, I have to say, we're just about out of time, Greg, because we've got a UK Winthrop game coming up today.
Okay.
Basketball, basketball.
Yeah.
But how can people get more information from you? And I'd like to have you on the show again to talk more about this as we move into the new year. And hopefully I'm going to go home and do a little reading myself in the Greg Ryan Library. And, I think so many people are really looking for answers, and unfortunately we look for answers in quick fix diet programs and even, gastric bypass surgery, which I'm not against. But I also know people who've had gastric bypass surgery who end up as fat as they were before because they're not dealing with any of the emotional and mental issues that are attached to that weight. And I think maybe we can hopefully help people, including myself, move past